So, self-professed global CEO, entrepreneur, business leader, linguophile, philanthropist, feminist, and mother, and the dictionary definition of busybody, Liz Elting claims that women are, quote, saving Star Wars, a franchise that was doing perfectly fine until a woman got control over it, ruined it, defended the ruination, and now can't understand why no one likes it. Now, women who weren't interested in Star Wars for the 38 years before Disney started pumping out shitty films are going to save the thing they effectively destroyed. I know this isn't the same franchise, it's not even the same medium, but I've got two words for you. Oh, it's that time of the month again, so of course we've got to deal with some feminist splashing her spoiled clam juice because tampons are sexist. In comes Liz Elting with an article in Forbes saying that women are saving Star Wars. No, they're not. Women, specifically feminists, have done the exact opposite of that. They've treated Star Wars like a red-headed stepchild, just beaten it beyond all recognition, peed on it, and gone, "Why you so salty?" "Because all you eat is sourdough potato chips and I can smell it in the fucking pee. That's why I'm salty." She starts off with this brilliant line of bullshit, so you know where the article's going. Quote, "Star Wars has women in it, and apparently, for many, that's a problem." No, that's a straw man argument. Women have been in Star Wars since its inception. The first human character you meet is a woman. The leader of the Rebel Alliance is a woman. The only not evil person in a Phantom Menace with an actual plan is a woman. The expanded universe is chock full of awesome women, to no one's complaint. Literally no one has a problem with this. Why are you lying? Oh, that's right. You're a feminist. And in true feminist fashion, Elting disproves her own straw man argument in the next sentence. "You might, if you're at all like me, be surprised by this. Women have been a mainstay of the franchise since its inception over 40 years ago." Then what was the fucking point of your first sentence? We're 2 sentences in. 2. And you're already fucking up your argument. Please, non-existent Desert Sky Daddy, give me the strength. She goes on, quote, "Star Wars is just one front of a bewildering pop culture war that extends from television to film to video games to sports and beyond, as angry, frustrated men decry the merest presence of a woman with any agency, power, or influence as a, quote, forced diversity corruption of something they believe belongs exclusively to them." First of all, what's with the run-on sentences? I thought your name was Liz Elting, not Anne Rice. Second, first of all, this narrative about, quote, angry men has been disproven so many times that you just look retarded mentioning it. Men are not upset that women, who have always been a part of Star Wars, are a part of Star Wars. Male Star Wars fans are upset with the overt political agenda driving so many of the changes to the franchise, specifically the creation of Mei Sue and the total destruction of Luke Skywalker. Female Star Wars fans are pissed off about this too, but I guess like a true feminist, you just forgot about them. It's hard to pinpoint exactly when this conversation really took off. Immediately after The Force Awakens. Literally as the show let out and those of us who weren't tricked by the nostalgia cock dripping 70s pre-cum started talking about how utterly ridiculous it was that Rey could pilot the Falcon, use a lightsaber, use the Force, and best Kylo Ren in battle without an ounce of fucking training. But it's probably the most innocuous manifestation of a radical misogyny that has, over the last decade, gripped much of the English-speaking world. Hey, fuck you. I don't like an overpowered character doing shit no one else in the franchise can do, and that makes me sexist? Look, you're not even 4 paragraphs in, honey. You might want to save some of them dog whistles for when you really need them. And it's one that's making a radical claim for the companies that produce the media they adore. Stop catering to people other than us. And we're the ones giving you the money. Tons and tons of money. You could appeal to us and get more money, or you can completely change the product from what it was and thereby drive away a built-in market that guarantees you billions of dollars in revenue to appeal to a bunch of people who can't tell the difference between Star Wars and a light bright. So then Elting says that she's not an expert in Star Wars fandom. Really? Girl, I couldn't even tell. But says that business is her specialty and that she wants to talk about it from that perspective. In other words, she's gonna femsplain why fucking up the franchise is actually a good thing, then admit that it's been thoroughly fucked to the point of uselessness, and then claim that the people who fucked it are actually the ones to make it better. So she's like that feminist mother who abuses her son using feminist doctrine, and then when he hates himself, tells him that the best place to go is to that feminist-run support group so he can further blame himself for his own abuse. Maybe more feminism isn't the answer, but that's a rational thought, and Liz ain't that kind of woman. She says, quote, "Whether it be Star Wars, sports, or some other fandom, let's examine the central claim that unites all these community revolts, that real fans are being ignored, abandoned, or rejected in favor of women and people of color. Real fans explicitly being white men." God, I wish I had long hair so I could just swish it around as I'm talking like this dumbass woman. Hey Liz, that's also a straw man argument. I know you're a feminist and y'all only got 3 tricks, lies, lies, and more lies, but try to shake it up. Don't think adding the race thing into the argument makes it better. All male fans aren't white, just like all the fans complaining about the political agenda aren't male. If you stop blowing the straw man, you'd notice that. And again, she undermines her own argument, quote, "There is a degree to truth to that." Then what the fuck are you complaining about? These are institutions that have been overwhelmingly marketed to and manufactured for boys and men. And why is it wrong that there are things that are made to appeal to men and boys? I mean, there are things made to appeal to women and girls. No normal men are trying to take those over. Other than this being something for men, what is your actual problem? Could it be that you contradict yourself yet again? Quote, "Sports has been a mainstay of male culture for generations, and geek fandom, such as it exists, has been similarly dominated. None of my girlfriends growing up were particularly into Marvel Comics, for one example. We had our own pop culture institutions we were expected to follow. But the 1970s and 80s were a different world. Mass media didn't exist the way it does now, dominated by huge multinationals who have spent decades cultivating not only fan bases, but cultural presence. Owing in part to some of the very fans who are now angry at their presence, girls have spent decades falling in love with the same sports, shows, comics, and movies as their brothers." Right. So girls couldn't watch the same TV shows or play the same video games or see the same movies as boys in the 70s and 80s. So how do you explain women who grew up reading comics and liking Star Wars? There are 40 and 50-year-old women, women your age, who saw Star Wars in theaters or watched it on TV or video or on Laserdisc. They didn't magically appear when Disney bought Lucasfilms. Star Wars has been around for 40 years. There have been thousands of comics, hundreds of novels, dozens of video games, and several TV shows, so it's impossible that girls who were interested in Star Wars were somehow prevented from liking it until Kathleen Kennedy queefed all over it. All those years prior to 2012, when Disney started negotiations to buy Lucasfilms, there were women and girls who enjoyed the franchise. They've always been outnumbered by men and boys because these type of adventure stories tend to appeal more to males, but females have never been shut out of the fandom or the franchise. You admit you don't know what you're talking about, so why are you acting like you do? So then she claims that the companies learned that they couldn't depend on the same old fans forever, and that, quote, "There's way more money in marketing to boys and girls than boys and boys alone." Yes, if you're marketing specifically to boys and then specifically to girls. If you're trying to use the same marketing strategies on both, you're going to fail because what appeals to boys doesn't always appeal to girls, and vice versa. You run a business. You should know this. If you want to market to both groups, you have to target your marketing strategy to suit each group. If you don't, then you run the risk of running off half the people you want to exploit. So let's look at Disney's marketing strategy. Most of it is neutral. Just bland, "Here's Star Wars. You like Star Wars, buy Star Wars" marketing. The rest, however, isn't divided between the two sexes. It's exclusively directed at women and girls. There are books called The Women of Star Wars, but none called The Men of Star Wars. Rey's face is on a large percentage of the merchandise, even though characters like Luke, Vader, Han, Obi-Wan, Darth Maul, and Yoda remain far more popular. Most of the young adult and children's novels follow the same strategy. It's either very generic or specifically about female characters, ignoring popular male characters. This is true even with the toys, where there's an obvious focus on the female characters. Now, there's nothing wrong with tailoring merchandise to appeal to girls. There is something wrong, however, when there's no equivalent merchandise push for boys. There used to be, but now it's gone. That's why you're getting these complaints. All of the new male characters have been demoted to comic relief or ritual humiliation. Even the new villain is basically a whiny emo boy. There is no positive male character in the current trilogy, and all of the positive ones from the original trilogy and the prequels are either dead or destroyed like Luke. How is this a good business decision? You've just stripped away every reason boys and men would have to like Star Wars. There is a concerted and overt effort to devalue males in the film and the merchandising. When we finally got something for men to root for, The Mandalorian, feminists complained. Instantly. The 4 female-centric movies weren't enough. The moment Disney made something male-centric, y'all lost your shit. Then Liz goes on to quote the lies about Kelly Marie Tran being harassed off social media, and the bullshit narratives about the Captain Mary Sue movie and that shitty Ghostbusters film. Then she says, quote, "The message was directed not only at the individual women involved, but at the companies themselves. Stand only with us, or we won't stand with you." No, the message was, stop shitting on the franchises we love or we won't give you our money. That worked with Ghostbusters. The movie tanked. With Captain Mary Sue, Disney banked because the movie was tied to the last Avengers film. But the nonpartisan reviews of the film basically said it was at best, meh. These are not the good examples you're looking for. Then she says, quote, "New generations of fans are being made right here, right now, with potentially decades of loyalty and purchases ahead of them. The same messages that resonated with 10-year-old boys in 1977 resonate with 10-year-old girls in 2019. That anyone can be a hero, and that you can be whatever you want, that you are important and powerful and have a future." That's not what happened with boys, Pumpkin. That's not what Star Wars is about. Star Wars was originally just a throwback adventure story. Empire and Jedi took it to the next level and made it more of a hero's journey. The message is about redemption, coming of age, and extreme ownership. Yes, Luke becomes powerful, but he has to earn it over 3 films. His power is never about making him look better than everyone, but about him taking on responsibility. It's not about him being more important so other people know who he is, but about understanding his importance because of his duty. It's not about him being whatever he wants to be. It's about him learning who he truly is. It's not about him being a hero. It's about him becoming a hero. The reason why that resonates with boys is because this is the journey you have to take to become a man. When you are able to do these things, you are now a man, and you understand the responsibility that comes with it. If it was just about Luke being cool and powerful, there would be no point to having the dark side. No point to having him train and repeatedly fail. No point in having him fight and lose to Vader. No point in having him find out that Vader was his father. No point in having him find out that Obi-Wan lied to him. And no point in Luke seeking to redeem Vader. All of that is there because this is what it is to come of age, and this is what it is to become a man. That's why it's absent in the new movies. That journey doesn't appeal to most girls. Specifically, they want all the benefits of the hero's journey without having to deal with the consequences, complications, or responsibilities. So you get Rey, a girl who is good at everything, who is better than everyone, who never makes any mistakes, and who apparently doesn't know that there are other clothes in the fucking galaxy. Obviously, that's not going to appeal to most boys and men, so this brilliant marketing strategy completely backfires. The same isn't true the other way around because women tend to like strong men, so if Luke becomes a strong man, women will like watching that happen. Characters like Rey, on the other hand, have no personal journey. They don't really overcome anything, so there's nothing applicable for men and boys to identify with. And these characters tend to humiliate strong male characters, which will cause some resentment in men and boys watching every male character get torn down. So you lose that audience in exchange for a handful of women who might like the changes. Star Wars has been successful largely because of the nostalgia and the pop culture familiarity, but once you remove those elements, or sully people's interest in the franchise, you lose that audience and their money. This is why Ghostbusters tanked. You have no tie to the thing people actually want to see, so you've already ruined your chances. When you add attacking the fans for complaining about this, you're guaranteeing a bomb. This is why people say get woke, go broke, because most of the time that's exactly what happens. You lose the people who liked it in the first place, and you fail to gain enough people to replace them let alone outnumber them. So this ridiculous idea that taking successful male-centric franchises and making them female-centric will rake in money is financially suicidal. You can certainly add in female characters, but the moment you try to change the target audience, you are begging for the thing to fail, just like when you say shit like this. Quote, and considering that women make up the majority of moviegoers and are far and away the major decision makers in household purchasing decisions, well, it seems like a no-brainer to me. Women don't make up the majority of people who see action and adventure movies, nor do they decide who goes to see them. So no, it's actually a very stupid decision to make. You target the movies to people who actually want to go and see them. When you want to bring in a broader audience, you add in some elements that work in the films that appeal to that broader audience. You don't take John Wick and turn it from a stuntman's wet dream into a soap opera with hundreds of pages of dialogue because you're going to lose all the John Wick fans. If you want to add in some dialogue, you add in a little and then have a big brawl. We know this works because there's this thing called professional wrestling. If you made it all talk, especially heavily scripted, unnatural dialogue, and then give it to the talent at the last minute, you get the abysmal Raw and SmackDown ratings we've seen in recent years. The key thing here is that you don't have to shit on male fans or male characters just because you want women and girls to watch the film. Wonder Woman is a perfect example of this. I don't personally know any man who's seen the film and didn't like it. That trench scene is arguably the best DC moment since the end of The Dark Knight. Henry Cavill is over here like, I want to do things like that. That movie was very female-centric, but it didn't trash men. Neither did the director or the lead actress, goddess that she is. And that's the point. You can make women strong without tearing down men. The movie was very successful, and it didn't need 20 other movies to get people to go and see it. If you stop attacking fans and stop tearing down the things they love, they will reward you with support and their money. Attack them, and then YouTube will need to alter their algorithm to memory hole your critics. But what do I know? I'm just some guy.